Unleash your creativity with the never-ending Storymaker v1.6. Dive into endless storytelling adventures. Explore limitless possibilities and craft captivating narratives. With a simple click or a yes, embark on a journey where your imagination sets the course. Let's create together. Create captivating, never-ending stories that challenge imagination and explore endless possibilities. Generate stories on any idea or topic. Continue the narrative by selecting continue or typing yes. Inspire creativity with an endless storytelling experience that fuels imagination and curiosity. Continuously build upon your story, allowing for limitless exploration and creative expression. Explore various themes, characters, and plots in an immersive, never-ending storytelling adventure. Keep the narrative alive by selecting continue or typing yes to extend the story. Immerse yourself in a world of infinite storytelling possibilities with each continuation. Experience the thrill of endless creation and storytelling without limits or boundaries. Generates a never-ending story on any idea or topic, provided offers the ability to continue the story by selecting continue or typing yes. Unleashes limitless creativity by providing an endless story platform. Encourages exploration of diverse ideas and topics in a captivating narrative. Keeps users engaged and inspired by offering the option to continue the story seamlessly. This is a given story example like this. Firstly, make 7 parts of whole story means 7 parts with new start, heading about 35 minutes video coverage, and each part should contain words about 900 to 1000, which will covers 5 minutes of video from whole 35 minutes containing video. Terran fleet faces the Empire. Humanity watches with amusement. HFY story. The massive crystal ship floated in the dark space between stars. Inside, Emperor Vexathera stood 12 feet tall, his body made of living blue crystal that sparkled with angry light. His fore glowed red as he watched the holographic display, showing human ships moving through space. "These creatures dare to fly through our territory," he said, his voice like breaking glass. "They think they can trade and explore wherever they want." Around him, the other leaders, oft Cytherian Galactic Empire, nodded their heads. There was General Clix, a grey creature with tentacles for arms. Next to him stood Admiral Zor, who looked like a giant walking tree with too many branches. All 12 species of the Empire were represented on the bridge of the flagship. "Your Majesty," said General Clix, his tentacles waving nervously, "these humans have only had faster-than-light travel for 50 years. They are like children playing with fire." Emperor Vexthora's crystal body flashed brighter. "Children who need to be taught their place. We have ruled this galaxy for 800 years. Our empire spans 3,000 star systems. These mammals from a small blue planet think they can challenge us." The Emperor walked to his throne, each step making a sound like wind chimes. He had built this empire by destroying anyone who opposed him. The Varan civilization had tried to resist 200 years ago. Now their planets were empty rocks floating in space. The Kelmar Federation had lasted 3 days against his fleets. No one had ever defeated the Zephyrian Empire. "Show me their pathetic fleet," he commanded. The hologram changed to show human ships. They looked strange to the aliens. Instead of the smooth, flowing designs Empire used, human ships were all angles and hard edges. They looked like they were built in a hurry from spare parts. "Look at these ugly metal boxes," laughed Admiral Zorth, his branch-like arms rustling. "Our ships are works of art. These things look like flying garbage." "How many ships do they have?" asked Theme Pair. Our spies report about 500 vessels spread across their territory, answered General Clix. Most are small cargo ships. They have maybe 50 real warships. Emperor Vexathera's laugh sounded like ice cracking. 50 ships, where he've destroyed entire civilizations with just one fleet. These humans are insects. He walked to the communication. Open a channel to all human settlements. I will personally deliver their doom. The communication officer, a slug-like creature with purple skin, pressed several buttons. Channel open, Your Majesty. Emperor Vexathera stood straight, his crystal body glowing with power. The recording would show him at his most impressive. This message would break the human spirit before the first shot was fired. Primitive humans, he began, his voice full of power and threat. I am Emperor Vexathora, ruler of the mighty Zeperian Galactic Empire. For 8 centuries, we have brought order to this galaxy. For 8 centuries, lesser species have bowed before all power. He paused, letting his words sink in. You have dared to enter our sacred space. You fly your crude ships through systems that belong to us. You trade with worlds that are under our protection. This ends now. The holographic display behind him showed the massive 7th Fleet. 200 warships floated in perfect formation. Each ship was 5 times larger than the biggest human vessel. Their weapons could crack planets in half. Behold the 7th Fleet, the Emperor continued. These ships have never known defeat. They have reduced civilizations to ash. They have made entire species extinct, and now they come for you. He stepped closer to the recording device. You have 72 standard hours to withdraw every human ship beyond your home system. Every cargo vessel, every explorer, every pathetic warship must return to the space around your sun. If even one human ship remains in our territory after we will destroy your entire species. General Clix whispered something to Admiral Zorth. Both aliens were smiling. This was always the fun part, watching lesser species realize they were doomed. Do not think you can fight us, Emperor Vexathora said, his voice growing louder. Do not think you can hide from us. Do not think anyone will help you. We are the storm that swallows stars. We are the darkness that ends worlds. We are inevitable. Theologram showed images of destroyed planets, the remains of fleets that had challenged the Empire. Empty space where our civilizations once lived. Look upon the fate of those who defied us, the Emperor said. The proud Vorthan Empire thought their quantum shields could protect them. We turned their ships into space dust. The Kelmar Federation belly. Their planet killers were unstoppable. We used their own weapons against them. He raised his forearms toward the camera. You humans have one choice. Withdraw or die. There is no third option. There is no negotiation. There is no mercy. Submit now, and we may allow your species to live as our slaves. Resist, and we will erase every trace of humanity from the universe. Their coding device captured every word, every threatening gesture, every flash of angry light from the Empress Christ's whole body. This message would reach every human world, every human ship, every human leader. 72 hours, he said on final time. Then the 7th Fleet will show you what happens to insects who try to fly with eagles. The communication officer ended the recording. Message sent to all human territories, Your Majesty. Emperor Vexathera returned to his throne, feeling satisfied. In 3 days, the humans would be gone from his space. In a week, they would be begging to serve the Empire. In a month, humanity would just be another conquered species in his vast domain. General Clix, he said. Prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate departure. I want to reach human space for the deadline. Let them see our ships coming. Let them feel the terror of inevitable defeat. Yes, Your Majesty, the general replied, his tentacles already working the control panels. And Admiral Zor, Thimpera added, ready the victory celebration. When we return, I want the entire Empire to know that humanity has fallen. Let this be a lesson to any other species that might think about challenging our rule. The Admiral swayed in agreement. It will be done, Your Majesty. As the massive fleet began to move toward human space, Emperor Vexathar looked out at the stars. Soon, this entire galaxy would know that the Superior Empire was the only power that mattered. These humans would learn what every other species had learned before them. Resistance was futile. The Empire always won. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in the big meeting room on Lunar Station, watching the alien message for the 3rd time. Around the table, the leaders of Earth's colonies tried not to laugh too loudly. Some were failing badly. Did he just call us insects? Asked Director Martinez from Mars Colony, wiping tears from his eyes. No, wait, said Captain Johnson from the Outer Rim Trading Company. My favorite part is where he says, we're roughly in garbage cans. Have you seen their ships? They look like crystal. Chandeliers with engines. The message played again. Emperor Vexathera stood there in all his crystal glory, making threats that sounded like bad movie dialogue. His voice was so serious, so full of drama, that it made everything funnier. 72 hours mimicked Commander Park from the asteroid mining stations, copying the Emperor's dramatic tone. Then we will show you what happens to insects who try to fly with eagles. She started jiggling again. Eagles, really? Admiral Chen held up her hand for quiet, but she was smiling, too. All right, everyone. I know this is amusing, but we need to respond. The question is, how do we handle this politely? Politely, asked Director Williams from Europa Base. Sarah, they just threatened to destroy our entire species. Maybe polite isn't the right approach. Oh, I think polite is exactly right, Admiral Chen replied, her smile growing wider. In fact, I think we should be very, very polite. She turned to her communications feek. Lieutenant Torres, start recording. Official diplomatic response to the Zephyran Empire. Lieutenant. Aboard the Eternal Conquest, Zixathan-S scales flashed through a spectrum of colors before settling on a deep crimson of rage. His 4 fists slammed onto the command console, cracking the crystalline surface. These primitives dare to threaten the Dominion. They insult 5,000 years of conquest with their ignorance. His tactical officer, a scarred veteran of 100 campaigns, approached carefully. The officer's scales displayed submission patterns, knowing the Overlord's temper could be lethal. Supreme Overlord, perhaps they do not understand the magnitude of our power. A demonstration might clarify their position. Zixathan-esque breathing slowed, his tactical mind overriding his anger. Yes, a lesson in humility. Target their moon called Europa, 1/4 power on the main cannon. Let them watch their solar system burn. The Eternal Conquest's primary weapon began its charging sequence. Energy drawn from a pocket dimension swirled into the focusing arrays. The very fabric of space-time rippled around the massive cannon as it prepared to fire. The beam lanced out across the void, a river of destruction that crossed the distance to Jupiter's moon in minutes. Europa simply ceased to exist as a solid body. The ice moon transformed into an expanding cloud of superheated vapor and debris. The explosion was visible from Earth through telescopes, A new star, burning where once a moon had orbited. The message was clear and brutal. This was only a fraction of the Kairoth's power. But something unexpected happened in the moments after Europa's destruction. Every piece of debris, every molecule of vaporized ice, began moving in patterns that defied physics. The scattered remains of the moon formed geometric shapes, then letters, then words written in space itself. The message, visible to every telescope and sensor in the solar system, burned bright against the darkness. Mistake number 1. General Rodriguez stood in the command center, watching the alien fleet's reaction to their message. She turned to her staff, men and women who had trained for this moment for over a decade. Initiate Prometheus Protocol 7. All stations report readiness. From hidden facilities across the solar system, responses flooded in. Mars Base Alpha, ready. Asteroid Station 9, ready. Titan Deep, ready. Callisto Shadow, ready. Names that meant nothing to the public, but everything to humanity's survival. The Kairoth sensors detected energy signatures appearing throughout the solar system, but the readings made no sense. The energy patterns didn't match any known technology. They seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, flickering in and out of standard space-time. Zixathan, tactical officer, reported with confusion rippling across his scales. Supreme Overlord, we're detecting approximately 200 unknown energy sources. They appear to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Before Zixathan could respond, his ship shuddered. Not from an impact, but from something far more disturbing. The quantum fields holding his shields together began fluctuating. The carefully balanced equations that maintained the barrier started solving themselves differently, as if the fundamental laws of physics had suddenly developed new opinions. Dr. Tanaka's voice echoed through the quantum communication network, reaching every human defender simultaneously. Quantum disruption field is active. The Kairoth shields are based on probability manipulation. We're simply changing the probability that their shields exist from 1 to 0. On Earth, crowds gathered in public squares, watching giant screens that showed the alien fleet. The invincible shields that had protected the Kairoth for millennia flickered like dying light bulbs. One by one, the barriers that made them untouchable began failing. The predators had suddenly become vulnerable. The ultimatum that shook the galaxy. Sethan watched his fleet's shields collapse with a kind of disbelief that comes from seeing the impossible happen. The Kairoth had conquered species that built cities in black holes, civilizations that had mapped every atom in their galaxy. And yet these primitives had somehow found their one vulnerability. His scales shifted to a pattern few Kairoth ever displayed. Uncertainty. The tactical officer's voice cracked as he reported, Supreme Overlord, all shields are failing. The quantum substrate itself is rejecting our technology. It's as if reality has decided our defenses shouldn't exist. Through the viewing portal, Zixathan could see his entire fleet suffering the same fate. 3,000 warships, each a masterpiece of destruction, now floated naked in the void. But surely these humans couldn't have weapons capable of damaging Kairoth hull armor. The metallurgy alone was beyond anything a Type 0 civilization should possess. General Rodriguez opened a channel to the alien fleet. This time, her image appeared on every Kairoth display simultaneously, a feat that should have been impossible given their encrypted systems. She stood with her hands clasped behind her back, the picture of military discipline. Behind her, holographic displays showed the positions of human assets throughout the solar system. Supreme Overlord Zixathan, she began, pronouncing his name. perfectly despite never having heard it before. I am General Isabella Rodriguez of Earth Defense Command. You came to our system expecting to find primitives. Instead, you found a species that has spent 15 years preparing for this exact moment. She gestured, and the displays behind her showed detailed scans of the Kuroth fleet, including internal schematics that should have been impossible to obtain. We know about your quantum cores. We know about your neural link command systems. We know that your species requires a specific radiation frequency to maintain cellular cohesion. We know everything. The revelation sent ripples of fear through the Kuroth fleet. Their scales flickered in patterns of distress as they realized the implications. These humans hadn't just developed defenses. They had studied their enemies down to the molecular level. Rodriguez continued, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's collective will. You destroyed Europa as a demonstration. Allow me to offer our own demonstration. Dr. Tanaka, please proceed with Prometheus Protocol 9. In her asteroid laboratory, Dr. Tanaka initiated a sequence that represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity and desperation combined. The quantum disruption field that had eliminated the Kuroth shields suddenly intensified. But instead of targeting technology, it targeted space itself. Around each Kuroth vessel, space began to fold. Not dramatically, but in subtle ways that created pockets of altered physics. Inside these pockets, fundamental forces worked differently. Gravity pulled in multiple directions simultaneously. The strong nuclear force weakened just enough to make atomic bonds unstable. Time moved at different rates in different sections of the same ship. The effect was not immediately destructive, but profoundly disorienting. Kuroth crew members found themselves aging at different rates depending on where they stood. Equipment functioned erratically as the laws of physics became suggestions rather than rules. It was a prison made of twisted reality itself. Zixathan felt his hearts racing, all three of them beating at different rhythms as time distortions washed over his bridge. His military mind, honed by centuries of conquest, recognized the tactical brilliance of the attack. The humans hadn't destroyed his fleet. They had neutralized it completely while demonstrating a level of technological sophistication that defied all intelligence reports. But the Supreme Overlord had not conquered half the galaxy by surrendering at the first setback. His 4 arms moved to his command console, activating protocols that hadn't been used in 3 centuries. All vessels initiate Omega contingency. If we cannot have this world, nothing will. The Omega contingency was the Kuroth's ultimate sanction. Each ship's quantum core could be detonated, creating a cascade reaction that would sterilize everything within a light-year radius. It would mean the death of the entire fleet, but Earth and its entire solar system would be erased from existence. It was mutually assured destruction on a stellar scale. Alarms screamed through Earth's command center as sensors detected the building energy signatures. Lieutenant Colonel Park's face went pale as he interpreted the readings. General, they're preparing to self-destruct. The energy release will trigger a false vacuum decay. Everything within a light year will be annihilated. Rodriguez didn't flinch. She had expected this possibility and prepared accordingly. Initiate Prometheus Protocol. 13. All stations. Execute immediately. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden defenders revealed their final card. The ancient probe hadn't just contained knowledge of quantum manipulation. It had included warnings about species like the Kuroth and their doomsday weapons. The extinct civilization had faced the same threat and developed a counter that they had never had the chance to use. Captain Michael Thompson stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the EU's Defiance, hidden beneath the surface of Titan. The ship was humanity's greatest achievement, incorporating both reverse-engineered alien technology and human innovation. Its hull was composed of programmable matter that could shift between dimensions. Its weapons were built on principles that Earth's public scientists wouldn't discover for centuries. All ships, this is Defiance Actual, Thompson announced across the quantum network. Deploy dimensional anchors. Lock down local space-time. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. 200 human vessels materialized throughout the solar system. They had been there all along, existing in a parallel dimensional phase that Kairoth sensors couldn't detect. Each ship was small compared to the massive Kairoth dreadnoughts, but size meant nothing when you could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. The human ships formed a perfect geometric pattern around the solar system and activated their dimensional anchors simultaneously. Reality itself crystallized, becoming rigid and unyielding. The quantum cores on the Kairoth ships continued building toward detonation, but the energy had nowhere to go. Space-time had been locked into a configuration that wouldn't permit the cascade reaction. Zixathon watched his ultimate weapon fail with something approaching respect. These humans had not only anticipated every move, but had prepared counters that shouldn't have been possible for a species that had barely left their planet. His scales shifted to a pattern rarely seen among Kairoth, acknowledgement of a superior opponent, but the humans weren't finished. General Rodriguez activated a solar system-wide broadcast that reached not just the Kairoth fleet, but every monitoring station, every spy probe, every hidden observer from the 1,000 civilizations watching this encounter. The galaxy had been observing, waiting to see if the mighty Kairoth Dominion would add another world to their empire. They were about to witness something unprecedented. To all who observe, Rodriguez announced, her voice carrying across subspace channels that humanity shouldn't have known existed. The Kairoth Dominion came to our system with threats of slavery and extinction. They destroyed one of our moons as a demonstration of power. They attempted to commit genocide when faced with resistance. Let the galaxy witness humanity's response. She paused, ensuring every listening civilization was paying attention. We could destroy the Kairoth fleet. Our weapons are now capable of that, but humanity chooses a different path. We offer the Kairoth Dominion and the entire galaxy a new paradigm. Not conquest, but cooperation. Not subjugation, but partnership. The statement sent shockwaves through monitoring stations across the galaxy. No species had ever responded to Kairoth aggression with anything but violence or surrender. This third option was unprecedented, Rodriguez continued, her image now appearing on communication systems across 100 worlds. The technology we've demonstrated today, the quantum manipulation, the dimensional control, the reality anchoring, we developed it not for war, but for survival, and we offer to share it, not freely, but in exchange for a simple agreement. The age of galactic empires built on conquest ends today. She turned her attention directly to Zixathon. Supreme Overlord, you have a choice. You can maintain your current course and watch your fleet be systematically dismantled by technologies you don't understand. Or you can be remembered as the leader who helped usher in a new age of galactic civilization. Your ships will be released from the reality distortion fields. You will be allowed to leave peacefully. In return, the Kairoth Dominion acknowledges Earth as a sovereign world and agrees to participate in what we're calling the Galactic Cooperation Treaty. The bridge of the eternal conquest fell silent except for the humming of stressed systems. Zixathan, 4 eyes, focused on the human general's image. His military pride screamed for continued resistance, but his tactical mind recognized the reality of the situation. The humans had demonstrated technologies that could revolutionize galactic civilization. They could have destroyed his fleet, but chose negotiation instead. His scales shifted through a complex pattern that his crew had never seen before. It was the pattern of evolution, of adaptation, of a predator recognizing that the nature of the hunt had fundamentally changed. When he spoke, his voice carried resignation mixed with curiosity. Henel Rodriguez, the Kiroth Dominion, accepts your terms. We will hear your proposal for this Galactic Cooperation Treaty. The relief in Earth's command center was palpable, but controlled. They had won the battle, but the war for a new galactic order had just begun. Rodriguez nodded respectfully to the alien commander. Release the Kiroth fleet from the distortion fields. Transmit the treaty framework to all ships and all observing civilizations. Dr. Tanaka entered the commands, and space around the Kiroth vessels returned to normal. The mighty warships floated free but weaponless, their shields still deactivated, a reminder of humanity's newfound capabilities. The treaty details spread across the galaxy at faster than light speeds, reaching civilizations that had never imagined such a document could exist. The treaty was elegantly simple. No species would conquer another through force. Disputes would be settled through arbitration. Technology would be shared for the benefit of all. Resources would be distributed based on need rather than military might. And humanity, the species everyone had dismissed as primitive, would serve as the first mediators of this new galactic order. Not because they were the strongest, but because they had proven something remarkable. When faced with annihilation, they had chosen innovation over desperation. When achieving victory, they had chosen mercy over vengeance. When given the power to conquer, they had chosen to unite. The response from across the galaxy was immediate and varied. Some species celebrated, tired of living in fear of the next conquest. Others raged, their own imperial ambitions suddenly challenged, but all recognized that something fundamental had changed. A species that shouldn't have been able to leave. Their planet had just rewritten the rules of galactic civilization. Zixathan stood on his bridge, studying the treaty details with the intensity he usually reserved for battle plans. His tactical officer approached hesitantly. Supreme Overlord, shall we power weapons and attempt to break free? The Overlord's scales flickered with something that might have been amusement. With what weapons? The humans have demonstrated they can manipulate reality itself. We came here as conquerors and have been transformed into witnesses to a new age, signaled the fleet. We returned to Dominion space to present this treaty to the High Council. As the Kiroth fleet prepared to leave, General Rodriguez stood before the people of Earth. The crisis was over, but the real work had just begun. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as mediators. The responsibility was enormous, but it was one that played to humanity's greatest strengths: adaptability, creativity, and an irrepressible desire to reach beyond what seemed possible. Today, she announced to the watching world, humanity takes its place among the stars, not through violence, but through wisdom, not as subjects, but as equals. The galaxy thought we were primitive, but we've shown them something they had forgotten. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a gun or a ship or even technology. Sometimes it's an idea whose time has come. The ancient probe that had started it all sat in its secure vault, its secrets now fully revealed. The civilization that created it had failed to save themselves, but their knowledge had saved humanity and perhaps the entire galaxy. On its surface, symbols that had taken years to translate glowed with a soft light. The message was simple but profound. For those who come after, be better than we were. Humanity had received the message and answered with their ultimatum to the stars. Not an ultimatum of destruction, but one of transformation. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.